All right, class. So, let me talk to you a little bit about what we're supposed to learn. So, we are going to be talking about what some of the characteristics of a polynomial. One characteristic is how do we know what the degree of the polynomial is? So we're going to talk about them in different ways. You're going to see graphing and you're going to see an equation, a polynomial, okay? So I'm going to start with graphing because it happens to be here. So since this has two terms, see how there's a term there and a term there? You take the number of terms, add one, and that's the degree. So in this case, we only have two terms, so the degree is 3. If we had 4 terms, we would have a degree of 5. If we had no terms, we would have a degree of 1, and we call that linear. So, now, the other thing that we want to talk about is local minima, or relative minima, and relative maximum. So this right here, this spot right here, is a minimum, but you can see there's more points that are below. We call that a relative minimum, and this would be a relative maximum. So let me see if I can notate on this a bit. Okay, I'm going to do that. All right, so this right here is a relative max, and this one right here is a relative minimum, okay? And because we have two terms plus 1 equals the degree, in this case, the degree is, in this case, 3. Now, there's other things that this tells me, this graph tells me. Like it tells me something called the zeros. So the zeros, and you'll see it as zeros, you'll see it as roots, or you'll see it as x-intercepts. Okay? All of those mean the same thing, so when you see them on tests and stuff like that, if they say zeros, you should know what that means. Or if they say what's the roots of the equation, you should be able to know what that is. These points right here are the roots, zeros, or x-intercepts of this equation or graph. So in this case, we would have -3, 0, and we would have 2, 0, and we would also have 0, 0, which doubles as the y-intercept as well, okay? So when they talk about graphs, they can talk about degree, they can talk about zeros, they can talk about relative minimum and maximum. And then the other thing that they want you to know in this unit is the leading coefficient. So we read books from left to right, unless you're Hebrew. So you read books from left to right. So if I'm looking at this graph, I'm going from a point down here to a point up there. So I'm going left to right, positive, up. So that means the leading coefficient INT, I think, is positive. Okay? Now, so they can give you things like, draw me a graph with a leading coefficient that's negative, going through the point 5, 0, and going through another point that is 0, 7. And you have to be able to, with a degree of 2. So then you're going to draw a polynomial, or in that case a parabola, that goes through those points with a leading coefficient of whatever, okay? So that is the going from the graph to the information. If they give you the information, I'm going to do a second video where they give you the information and we're going to create the equation from that. Okay? So stay tuned. Part 2.